Hello guys, welcome back to our channel. Over the years, Nigeria have been known practically as a economic country, economy that is majorly dependent on oil. When Zamfara discovered gold in their region, there was a huge relief that finally, to some extent, there will be diversification of some sort. Of course, also hoping that agriculture will come into play. But shockingly, a lot of issues have come up with the issue of mining of the gold that has been discovered in Zamfara. A lot of propaganda was also said during that period, but right now the governors are beginning to talk, and the southern governors, the Niger Delta governors, are no longer keeping quiet, and they're beginning to speak their mind. But before we go into the news proper or further analysis, we'd like you to subscribe to our channel by clicking on the red subscribe button. Beside it, you'll see a bell notification icon. Please go ahead, click on it to get notified as soon as we update our channel on YouTube. Well, the governor of Delta State, Senator Okowa, yesterday said no law of the country permits Zamfara state government to control and manage gold deposit in the state, noting the governors of South region will soon take up the matter with the federal government. Okowa, who spoke at his 2020 quarterly media interaction in Asaba, the state capital, maintained that what Zamfara state government was doing was clearly an illegality, warning that if the matter was not properly addressed, South governors would have no option than to assume control of oil and gas in their states. The governor, who asserted that South governors believe in restructuring and resource control, hinted that governors of oil-rich region, ministers, lawmakers, and other stakeholders would meet Friday at Port Harcourt, Rivers State, to deliberate and take position on the matter and other issues. He also applauded the effort of the South governors, who he said, though could do better, were already doing very well amidst the challenges they faced in the development of their respective states. According to him, South governors before now have been talking about the need for restructuring and need for resource control. Obviously, we are on that because we feel there is need to restructure not only the country but the management of resources. But as of today, there are acts in the National Assembly that guard the issue of oil production and with the solid minerals. Those are not covered in this act, and obviously this is already a sore point in our nation's governance system, and we hope to express this very strongly during the meeting taking place in Port Harcourt on Friday. We cannot apply laws in our nation to the point that it becomes discriminatory, because if people are allowed to process for their solid minerals, they should also be allowed to do the same for their oil. So we are going to be very hard and try to make our voice as strong as possible during the meeting. I believe that at some point in time, these discriminatory tendencies will have to be revisited in our nation at some point in time. Speaking of the demands of oil-bearing communities in the state to manage the 13% derivation accrued to them, the governor said, I think it's important that we put our energy in the right direction, because people have the wrong concept on what needs to be done. I am not a lawyer, but I believe that the Constitution is very straightforward on how derivation monies should be handled and who should handle it. What we are doing as of today is to drive the process in the PIB, where the oil-bearing communities will have some leverages and be provided for in the law, which allows them to have a percentage that will help them to strengthen their relationship or the relationship between them and the oil companies. This is because if every community rises and say they want to control their resources, Nigeria will eventually become a banana republic and there will be no control, hence no country or state. Take a look at Delta State, for instance. There are 20 or 21 local government areas that are oil producing. If every community tries to control its own, I'm sure that the crisis and battles that will come out of it will be beyond our control. Though people have their views and they have the right to such views, it is for us to follow the constitutionality and the laws of the land at the moment. I believe that having voted governors and lawmakers, we should allow them manage these resources. And if they are not doing enough, we can vote them out in the next 4 years. Besides, it's not a question of what I want to manage. It's not a question of I want to manage the 13%. they ought to say they want to manage the 100%. What about the 87% being shared among other states in the country? You did not push for the 87%, but it's the 13% coming to the state that you want to manage. It does not make sense. Unfortunately, people just want to be heard and noticed. And by the time the governors are talking on their own, you're getting a group of communities talking, and those ones have a different viewpoint. By the time this division is created, what then happens? They will say we are singing in different tones, that you do not have a collective voice on the management of resources in your region. And this will divert the attention of adequate restructuring of the country the way we ought to talk about it. So there is a lot of politics going on. But I believe the governors of the South are doing well enough, and having visited most states in the country, I can affirm that the South governors are indeed doing very well amidst the challenges we have to manage. Wow. This is the very first time I must say that Governor Okowa has spoken, and has spoken very hard. This issue of restructuring. The first time they said no, that there's no such thing. That now he's now saying if Zamfara is controlling their gold, it is illegality. Although they said, but looking at it, they now found out that all the constitution that has to do with oil and gas and derivation, 13% derivation and all that, it has been constructed in such a way that it's now constitutional. But there's now some sort of exemptions for minerals, solid minerals, which has to do with gold, of course, which means even though they're saying all resources, federal resources should be resources for all, there still seem to be, it's like there are two sides to the law. And that's what he's trying to, say, look, we've been keeping quiet for a while, but if this happens, then by all means, we are going to push for 100%. Don't forget there was a time they were talking about that 13%, that they don't even understand what the governors or the states are doing with the 13% derivatives they are giving to the state because they're not feeling their impact. And he's now asking, you did not push for 87%. It is just that 13% that is coming to us as the original owners of this national cake, quote and unquote, or resources that you are actually questioning. You have not questioned that 87%. That what is that 87% used for? And that's why, honestly, if there's any person at all, any region who will clamor much more for restructuring, it should be actually that region that lays the golden egg that feeds the nation, which is probably going to be the South. Of course, Zamfara now started showing signs of, independence by having oil, by having gold in their midst. But then, what comes out of it is what we're going to look into. But let's quickly see what Nigerians are saying, because honestly, Governor Okowa really blew hot. He blew hot, man. And he said on Friday, they will be having a meeting, South governors, to look into this issue of 13% derivatives, and also to look into the issue of resource control, and why this whole inconsistency in the law is actually being applied as a case study of Zamfara gold. Let's see what Nigerians are saying. This one here is saying, true talk. This one here is saying, days of feeding bottles slowly coming to an end. This one here is saying, Zamfara gold belongs to Zamfara state. Why Niger Delta ore is being shared as national cake? Niger Delta must take their destiny into their own hands by controlling their God-given resources. Northern parasites must stop depending, relying and controlling our resources. Full stop. There are some days even. There was some time when even the Jigawa, I think at one time senator thereabout of Jigawa said that whether they like it or not, because we are one Nigeria, all in Bayelsa belongs to Jigawa. That is, I smiled. But now the gold in Zamfara belongs to Zamfara. Have you now seen? We need to be practical in our way, so that at the end of the day, some ethnic group and some regions will not feel marginalized, or will not know they are marginalized, because it's one thing to say, we can manage. But the turning point comes when you know you are marginalized and you are saying no more. That's where the turning point comes in. And that's where I feel right now the Niger Deltas are beginning to look inwards and beginning to say no more. That's where we're going to wrap it up. Let's meet in our comment section. What's your take, really, on the fact that there's going to be a meeting by the grace of God come tomorrow? They will be meeting in Rivers State and to discuss over this issue of derivatives, 13% derivative, and the 100% control that they're already perceiving is happening in Zamfara Gold, where such inconsistency in the law should be addressed, or better still, maybe Niger Delta should also have full control of their resources. Let's put in that conversation. Let's interact. What's your view on what Governor Okowa